Is Mojtaba now set to get help from an unlikely source against the United States, as Iraqi militias quietly position themselves inside Iran ahead of any possible ground invasion? Is Iran already preparing in real terms for a US ground invasion, with foreign fighters and proxy forces reportedly moving into sensitive parts of the country? Has the IRGC built a backup force ready to confront US troops on the ground, relying on Iraqi Popular Mobilization Forces fighters to bolster its own ranks if American boots cross the border? Has Mojtaba effectively called in Iraqi militias, as PMF fighters mobilize inside Iran under the banner of humanitarian aid, but with a clear wartime logic? Amid rapidly escalating tensions, Iran could receive direct help from an unlikely source if the US ever invades by ground, turning Iraqi militias into frontline reinforcements. Iraqi fighters already inside Iran may be quietly preparing for a possible US ground invasion, ready to fight alongside Iranian forces if American troops push in. This assessment was made by a Popular Mobilization Forces commander in an exclusive interview, openly linking their presence in Iran to potential ground war scenarios. Several Iraqi fighters affiliated with al-Shaabi, the PMF umbrella organization, have been confirmed to be inside Iran, particularly in its southern provinces. The commander described their presence in Iran as completely natural given current circumstances, framing it as an extension of long-standing ideological and strategic ties. At the same time, he claimed that these fighters were not deployed under the official PMF military structure, implying that they are acting more as volunteers than formal units. Instead, he said PMF troops were stationed in southern Iran primarily for religious and ideological reasons, visiting shrines and supporting what they see as a shared cause. This deployment reportedly supports the Islamic Republic amid the current regional conflict, offering both symbolic solidarity and a pool of experienced urban fighters if war expands. The PMF commander said, and I quote, "The presence of the organization's official forces in Iran could be aimed at preparing for a possible ground war between Iran and the United States. The presence of these militia members in Iran follows the same logic under which some of them previously considered themselves obligated to stand alongside the Houthis and support the group." Unquote. A former Iranian official has claimed the United States is preparing for a possible ground invasion of Iran. Askar Ibrahimi Azal told Iran International that Washington is building up military infrastructure across the Gulf region. The former deputy oil minister alleged that the U.S. is expanding its military presence in countries, including the United Arab Emirates. He also claimed that foreign mercenaries are being recruited as part of preparations for a potential future operation. Ibrahimi Azal alleged that any ground offensive could target Qeshm Island or other areas along Iran's southern coastline. He also identified Karg Island as another possible objective in any future U.S. military campaign. According to Ibrahimi Asl, Washington could delay any potential ground invasion until cooler weather arrives in September. US and Iran reportedly sought a return to an interim ceasefire as indirect back-channel negotiations continued, AP reported. AP reported that mediators were discussing a compromise to restore commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. According to AP, the proposal would allow Iran to oversee vessel transit while imposing fewer restrictions on maritime traffic. A regional official, speaking anonymously, said the discussions remained highly sensitive and had not been publicly acknowledged. The interim proposal reportedly aimed to reduce military tensions while keeping one of the world's busiest shipping routes operational. The same official described the current pause in US and Iranian strikes as an encouraging sign for diplomatic efforts. The temporary halt in hostilities reportedly gave mediators greater room to push negotiations aimed at preventing further escalation. AP reported that discussions over Hormuz shipping compromise were still ongoing, with no final agreement reached so far. Negotiators reportedly continued working to revive the ceasefire while trying to prevent another round of direct military confrontation. Donald Trump reportedly held back from a major escalation against Iran as Pentagon concerns over missile stockpiles grew, the New York Times reported. According to the New York Times, dwindling Patriot interceptor inventories became a major factor shaping White House deliberations on further military action. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs General, Dan Kane reportedly warned that another large-scale war with Iran could strain U.S. air defense capabilities across the region. Kane reportedly told officials that expanding operations against Iran could reduce Patriot missile coverage protecting U.S. forces under CENTCOM. The reported concerns over air defense readiness ultimately became a key factor in President Trump's decision-making on possible further escalation. Meanwhile, U.S. Central Command said the American naval blockade against Iran remained fully enforced across the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM said U.S. forces redirected 12 commercial vessels that allegedly attempted to bypass the blockade on July 25. The U.S. military said 2 commercial ships were disabled after they ignored repeated warnings and failed to comply with blockade instructions. CENTCOM also said American forces boarded 2 commercial vessels to verify compliance with blockade enforcement measures in the Gulf. According to CENTCOM, a Comoros-flagged tanker was cleared after inspection, while another vessel was disabled for failing to comply. Statement by U.S. CENTCOM said, and I quote, "The U.S. naval blockade against Iran remains in full effect. As of July 25, CENTCOM has redirected 12 commercial vessels trying to run the blockade, disabled 2 that didn't comply, and boarded 2 to ensure total compliance." Earlier today, U.S. forces completed a verification boarding aboard Comoros-flagged MT Charmana in the Arabian Sea, and the tanker is now continuing its journey. CENTCOM forces disabled Mozambique-flagged MT Levine in the Gulf of Oman, July 24, after the crew attempted to violate the blockade multiple times and ignored repeated warnings. The ship is no longer transiting to Iran. Unquote.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Have you ever wondered what happens when a banking dynasty meets tides of world history, intrigue, and a dash of myth?
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.